Hello, everyone. It's just Brian. I'm not tagging myself to any particular channel because I think this is something that I want to share over a few of my channels. So I'm just leaving it as just Brian. So the end off spoke of is now. And that end has to do with the monetary system and our financial system and how it affects everything. For years, going back into the 90s, even, there was the first book I read, Bankruptcy 1993. The guy was doing math and talking about how, based on debt levels and serviceability, we were going to have that gloom and doom happen, that end event happen to us. Well, it didn't happen. The 90s happened. The boom happened. And the net result was we kept going. Then the 2000s happened. And then you had the real estate boom. Then you had 2008. Then you had the teens and all the money printing, and then you have where we are today. And over all this time, 20, 30 years, I've read so many different people, Doug Casey, the whole team at the Daily Reckoning crew, just pundits time and over again, talking about Charles Hugh Smith, talking about when things finally collapse, this happens, that happens, that happens. We stop having endless wars, university funding, all the things that are funded by money channeled through the government that's printed and borrowed through the government and printed through, the Federal Reserve. All that's going to dry up, and we're going to see what happens when we finally have atrophy and everything starts getting pulled back. And over all these years, I have not seen it. You have your hiccups, you have your financial kerfluffles as things go sideways, like in 2008. You have all sorts of episodes, like we had, what was it, last year before? God, that bank in California, I'm forgetting the name already. You have all sorts of things happen, but fundamentally nothing changes. And now I'm starting to see the signals. I'm starting to see these things. I'm seeing how in an economy that's still chugging along, you have retail businesses that are failing. Like they've reached an endpoint where their income, their revenue is shrinking, which is partly impacted by monetary devaluation, also known as inflation, or the purchasing power of individuals is eroded. You have companies, these retail companies, they're failing. Who is it recently? Joann's, which is the fabric store, and also the crafts and hobby store, which makes me wonder, where am I going to get the little bits and pieces like needles, thread, zippers, little oddball, $5 and $10 stuff that I don't want to buy off Amazon because I want to physically feel it and go to the store and get it now because I need it now. We'll figure it out. And there's other retail stores I can think of, not Five Below, but dollar bill stores are stressed where stores are actually being closed. Dollar bill stores, sorry, formerly dollar bill stores. And you start seeing more and more retail stores that are going to the pooper in supposedly decent overall environment, depending on what metrics you look at and how you view things. For some people, they're better off than others. Some people, they're having a harder time than others. And then I think what the trigger was for me was that I saw an article. I follow a few Chicago and Illinois-centric articles since that's where I'm living in Illinois currently. And there was an article about one of the universities, I think it was Southern Illinois University, how they're going to have to start consolidating their physics department because they can't, because of budgetary stress. They're maxed out. They can go no further. And it wasn't because the state's not ponying up money anymore, or we're not getting anything from the feds or anything like that. It was, we've reached our limits. We can go no further. And I'm starting, and it had this energy about it where I'm sort of, it feels like this is another leak in the dam, in the same dam, where we're reaching the limit. We have reached the hard limit. This also kind of plays over to peak university, where for 20 years, 25, 30 years, university costs have just kept going up and up and up. And now we're reaching the point where I think we're going to start scaling back, and you're going to see consolidation. You're going to see layoffs and firings. You're going to see competitiveness as people all of a sudden realize, okay, we need to focus on core things. Maybe we need to change our model. We need to do something that makes us stand out from that other university. And we're going to have to be smaller. And we're going to have to, the way to attract people is to be competitive on costs. Competitive on costs. The pragmatism is back. And I think we're slowly seeing kind of that point where the roller coaster is slowing down and reaching the top. And in time, we're going to see it start cascading downwards. And college won't be about silly degrees that bring in bodies and tuition money, but end up actually educating people on relevant, pragmatic topics and liberal arts topics that actually matter and have a true value, not just a niche value, I suppose. And yeah, we're reaching that point where I think where we've reached the transition phase where things are starting to break apart. And a guy, who was it, Lee Harris, said, letting go of the old, and a few people have said this is more of the higher truth, spiritual, deeper thinking, however you want to coin that type of crowd, that talk about on a deeper level, on a deeper fundamental level, you can't bring in new things if the old things are taking up the space. The old things have to go to make room for the new things to come in. And that's what we're seeing. So when you see things like, oh, this company is filing for liquidation, bankruptcy, not just, debt reorganization. I think chapter 11 or chapter 7, don't quote me. It's not the end of the world. People are going to lose jobs, but also it's making room for people to make new jobs. Because where one business fails and lose their customers, another business or businesses are going to step in. And those businesses that are run with a better spreadsheet, run with better operating principles, better management, those companies are going to say, hey, we're picking up their old business. We need more people now. And those are going to be, to use the corny phrase, the growth engines of the future. So it's not a one-way train where everything closes down and we just die. It's a zero sum. What's lost in one place is picked up in another. And what's going to be difficult is trying to shuffle around from one to another. So, I think about this frequently as far as, where do I stand with my industry and my job and my company? How are they? I'm glad as far as the municipal level, when it comes to funding in the town I'm in, they actually have a charter and they're actually one of the better managed, like actually to earn recognition as far as fiscal management. So it might be I'm stuck in Illinois, so who knows what the overall situation is going to be. But I think it's definitely safe to say I'm in a municipality that's by a long shot, one of the least stinky turds. And I don't even know if it'd be qualify as a turd at that. It might be the rain boots in the storm, but I digress. We're going through a position of transition, and stay calm and know that we'll get through it. And on another note, if you have not built your financial arc, now is the time to do it. Save up the money. Do research to find out what financial institutions are safe, what financial institutions have a lesser amount of risk, and build up that financial arc. Even if it's only $1 a week, it's something, because that dollar you save today is a dollar you don't have to try and scrape up and save tomorrow. From my Bitcoining hobbies, and when I was on that side, I learned the quote that very much applies to the accumulation of wealth. The best time to plant a tree was 15 years ago. The second best time is today. I so desperately wish that I had started saving something, anything, with regularity way back in my 20s when I was younger and done with schooling. Even if it was only $1 a week, at the end of the year, that's $52 less that a poor, broke ass, out of college kid working in temp jobs wouldn't have to scrape together to save in one shot, because it's already saved and spoken for. That's the same thing with, and I'm going to veer over here. That's the same thing with something like any asset, whether it's accumulating stock. You can use apps like Robinhood, where you can buy fractional amounts. And it's things like Bitcoin, where there's numerous apps out there, like Strike, where you can buy $1 a day. You can buy $5 a week. You can buy $10 a month. But it's something where you can start building that financial arc. And understand third-party risk too. Understand, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So understand custody and risk. Even on basic level, there's enough information and commentary out there today in 2025 that you can find the 5-minute condensed version that covers the most basic of points and explains third-party risk and understanding my bank account. What are the risks to money in the bank? What are the risks to money in stock certificates? What are the risks to money in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies? What are the risks to owning physical assets? Understanding all of these risks helps you to make a better decision. And you don't have to be a financial expert. Like I said, there's a lot of short videos that cover the basic points, which just knowing that will put you a leg ahead and de-escalate the risk to your arc. And we're probably going to need that arc in one form or another to help us as we go through this period of transition, which it'll take years. I think it was the Vladimir Lenin quote. There are years that feel like decades, and decades that happen in months. That's the gist. There are times when nothing really happens, and there are times when things happen really fast. And I think we're going to experience both, where in the big picture, it's going slow and barely anything's happening, but we're having these little episodes pop in and things happen very quickly. So have that financial arc, have a little bit of knowledge, educate yourself, and just know in the end, we'll be fine. We'll figure it out. We just got to work on clearing out all the old to bring in the new and the better, which we will. So I'm going to wrap this up. So for all these multiple platforms, which this will be published, you can follow along on all the social media platforms listed in the show notes, including the main websites. And with that, I will say be well, everyone, and talk to you soon.